I'm going to get started. My name is Kim Bernardi. I'm the Quality Assurance Specialist here at the County Board. I was also an SSA for 19 years here, so I've been here a little over 28 years. Today we're going to talk about Social Security benefits and Medicaid benefits for individuals with disabilities. We're going to go over the different Social Security benefits an individual can receive. We'll talk about working and how that may impact their benefits, or things that we can do to try not let work impact their benefits. So I'm up to questions at any time. I do get on a roll sometimes, so sometimes I'm there, keep going, and I don't change that, but then I go back. So I just want to let you know I just sometimes go on a roll here. Okay. And then also, if anybody ever wants to meet with me separately, just email me, which is on the back of the PowerPoint, and we can always schedule, to sit and meet, okay, and discuss your own situation or whatever the case may be. Okay, great. All right. So here we go. And I do hate standing up here, just so you all know. Okay. The three types of Social Security, I'm going to get more in depth with this, but the three types of Social Security for an individual with disabilities that we serve can receive SSI, which is Social Security supplemental income. That's income that you receive if you're deemed disabled through Social Security and you haven't paid into Social Security, or you're not drawing off a parent's benefit and drawing off of their Social Security. So you would get Social Security supplemental income, which is SSI. I'm going to get more in depth in that in a minute. Social Security disabled adult child, that's a benefit an individual could receive off their parent's benefit. Okay? If the parent worked and the parent is retired, deceased, or disabled, and like I said, I'm going to get more in depth. And then Social Security disabled individual. The individual can receive off of their own work credits if they worked and paid into Social Security. Okay? So first we're going to go more in depth of SSI. They have to have a qualifying disability through Social Security. Some disabilities, Social Security flags and will automatically approve them for SSI benefits, and some they'll have to go through the medical board, and they might send you to one of their doctors and all that to have a determination. You don't have to have, sorry, I don't like these polls. You don't have to have work history. If you're deemed disabled for Social Security supplement income, you will automatically get Medicaid. You can have concurrent benefits, so you can have two different benefits, but that's going to get more in depth. The maximum amount this year is $967 a month. Income earned and unearned income does affect this benefit. We're going to go over some calculation sheets, and I'll show you how working affects the SSI, because it fluctuates based on your earned income and also fluctuates based on unearned income. You're not allowed more than $2,000 in assets unless you have a stable account. We'll get the stable account we'll get into, but the stable account individuals in 2016, I believe, the federal government passed what was called the ABLE Act, allowing individuals with disabilities to open up a stable account. Other states call it something different, and they can put money into their stable account. It does not affect their benefits, so it doesn't affect their asset limits. I've helped a lot of families open up stable accounts. They're very simple. It's all online. Also have to, I'll go to that in a minute. If you can be working when you apply for SSI benefits, but you cannot be making substantial gainful activity when you apply for SSI benefits. Substantial gainful activity this year is $1,620 a month, gross income, earned income. So if somebody is already earning that kind of money, don't apply, because they're just going to deny you. They're going to say you're already substantially gainfully employed and you are not disabled. and they will deny you. So like kiddos coming out of school and stuff and getting jobs, this is very important to know, to go try and get the benefits before somebody starts working. All right, earned income is money earned from work, salaries, commissions, bonuses, severance packages, in-kind value of food and shelter. If you live with your parents and you're applying for SSI benefits, Social Security wants to know, does $967 a month, the maximum amount of SSI, pay for your fair share of the home expenses? The home expenses are mortgage or rent, utilities, and food. So if it's myself and my parents, I would be responsible for 1/3 of all that. If $967 a month is not enough for my fair share, Social Security is going to take $300 off that SSI benefit because you're being supported still. You're going to get $600 and some dollars a month. That's what's in-kind support. If the $967 a month does cover my fair share, I'll get the full amount. Doesn't make sense, but that's their rule. So SSI counts gross wages per month, salaries, including self-employment, funds withheld for any kind of garnishing, obligation, or debt. So if, say I'm collecting Social Security benefits, SSI, and in my income I have child support taken out to give to somebody, they're still going to count my gross income, even with that obligation taken out. That makes sense? I didn't even flip my pages yet. Hold on. Okay. There's some earned income exclusions. Okay. Income tax is not, an income tax return is not counted as income, but it eventually can be counted as an asset if you leave it sit in the bank too long. Okay. Typically you have about 6 to 9 months to do something with it. My suggestion is do something with it right away so you don't forget. Impairment-related work expenses, we're going to get into that. That's something an individual pays for themselves to be able to work, like their transportation, medication so they're able to work, attendant care. They do an earned income tax credits. And if you're a student, if somebody's a student, high school student, full-time, you can earn up to $9,460 a year before your SSI check fluctuates. So I'm just going to go over so you understand a little bit more what I'm talking about. In your packet is an SSI calculation sheet. You got 3 of them. The scenario description, earned income, and SSI. We're going to go over that. The one that says earned income and SSI. That way you'll understand a little bit more as I go on, continue on. Are we ready? And can everybody hear me, by the way? Because this is for the camera. So, okay. So this individual, this calculation sheet is going to determine how much SSI this individual gets this month based on their earned income, okay? Because SSI is a supplemental income, so any other income will count against the SSI benefit, but not dollar for dollar, okay? So this person doesn't have any unearned income. I got those sheets for later. This person has a gross earned income of $1,400 a month, okay? This person's not a student. So we still have the remainder of $1,400. Up above, there was no unearned income, so there is a general exclusion of $20. So we minus the $20 off the $1,400, and we got $1,380. Then there's an earned income exclusion of $65, so we subtract that. And we're at $13.15. Okay. Impairment-related work expenses, we minus that, but we don't have any. So the remainder is $13.15. So then they divide it by half. So it's $657.50. There's no blind work expenses. The total countable earned income is $657.50. So if you come down to the bottom, it says your SSI rate is $967. Total countable income, they're only counting $657.50 out of the $1,400 against the SSI check. Okay, so you subtract that from the $957. This person's still going to get an SSI check for $303.50 for that month. Now, they are 2 months behind because if you work in February, you're going to report your income in March for February. That check will be April's check. So they are 2 months behind. And you have to report your income. Because if you don't report your income and you're getting the full SSI check, several months down the line, Social Security is going to be like, hey, you owe me $10,000. And they're going to take it. So you have to report your income. You can do it over the phone. You can go to socialsecurity.gov and set up an account with your individual's Social Security number. And you can do it there. You can drop off pay stubs to the Social Security office. Just make sure. Yes, Sam. And now they have an app you can download on your phone. Says Samantha. I'm too old for those apps. So there you have it. So just make sure your income is reported. Yes. Because if not, they're going to keep giving you the $967 a month. Or if you reported your income a couple months and they only give you $303, but you worked less the next month, they're still going to give you $303 because you haven't given them the correct amount. Okay. If somebody loses their job or quits their job, you need to let them know so this check will go back in place to the full amount. Anything that happens, you have to report it. Mm-hmm. If they're on SSI, you'd want to, because then your SSI check's going to go up. Absolutely. Yeah. Because this SSI check, like I said, is supplemental. It's just going to supplement your income. And whatever you're working, your check's going to fluctuate. So if you lower your hours, you want to tell them because your check's going to go up. Any questions on that? Okay. If any, please ask questions. If I'm going too fast, please say, because I do tend to talk fast. So, okay. Unearned income that affects SSI checks. So basically any income is going to affect an SSI check. If you're receiving another Social Security benefit, because you can receive SSI and a check off of your own work record. Okay. I'll get more into that. You can receive SSI and a check off your parents' benefit. Because if your parents' benefit or your own work record benefit is under the $967 a month, so if I'm getting $500 off of my dad's, I'm still eligible for $467 a month off of my SSI check. Okay. When I'm working and getting off of dad's and my SSI check, only the SSI check's going to fluctuate. I do have a calculation sheet. We'll go over that. My check off of my dad stays the same. They'll go up each year when they give a little cost of living increase, but other than that. Workman's comp. If somebody's collecting workman's comp, unemployment, alimony or child support. I had a family on my caseload because I was an SSA. Her son was getting SSI benefits. He's an adult. Her ex-husband finally started paying child support, back child support. So now Social Security counts as income on for him. So now his SSI check is lowered. So any rental incomes, and again, the in-kind support. So. As long as it's not cashable. The royalties are going to a trust fund, that's fine because you can't really touch the trust fund for certain things. But if the royalties are being paid to the individual, then that's going to affect their benefits. Correct. Right. Did you guys hear the question? Okay, good. Right. Okay. Unearned income exclusions. If somebody's receiving energy assistance, HEAP and PIP, it doesn't affect their benefit. Grants or scholarships for education does not affect their benefit. Again, this is all SSI. The unearned income exclusion. SNAP benefits, which is food stamps, going to the food pantry and all that, does not affect their SSI benefits. So here, and I'm also going to let you know, Medicaid too, certain Medicaid, basic Medicaid and waiver Medicaid, I'll get into that more, also has a $2,000 asset limit as well. So, but let's go on to Social Security, SSI and Medicaid assets, anything cashable, anything you can liquidate. Cash on hand, savings accounts, checking accounts, stocks, bonds, it's in the person's name, if the person owns it. Term life insurance policies. A couple years ago, no, somewhere in a couple years ago, 6 years ago, I had to put my father into a nursing home. And I needed to get him Medicaid eligible. And he had a cashable term life insurance policy for $2,020. So he's now $20 over the Medicaid asset limit. He owned the policy. So if he cashed it in, he'd get the money. So I had to cash it in and put it on a prepaid burial. So a $25,000 life insurance policy is now $2,020 on a prepaid burial to make him Medicaid eligible. So be careful. You can have a life insurance policy on an individual, but you have to own it. Don't put it in their name. Where they own it, it's their asset. Make sense? Good. Okay. Okay. Items received during a month, if not spent, like if you get a back Social Security check or something, it's not counted for 9 months as an asset, and it's not counted as income. So that's your lump sum. Again, prepaid burials are not an asset. So that's some things that, like, if families talk to me, 'cause I sit down, what are things we can do? They got this money, and I'm like, well, we can do a prepaid burial. I know we don't want to talk about that because we're young. Just a little story about that one. It has nothing to do with this, but when I was married, my stepfather passed away, and the funeral home says, hey, when somebody passes away and you bury your person here, you got 30 days, buy one, get one free. So I bought 2 plots. Yeah, sorry. He said, are we really thinking about this? I'm like, it's buy one, get one free. Anyways, now I have 2 plots because I'm divorced. But okay, sorry. So an individual can own a home and a car with limited value. I mean, they can't own a huge Cadillac Escalade, paid off, fancy. They can have a car and a home. Okay. So that's another thing. Some people, like families, are worried about, well, what am I going to do with my adult child? As far as living and this and that. But they have money. They have money to put in a trust. You can buy them a condo. They can have their own condo, their own house. Then you don't have to worry about future living in their name. They can have it. For a house, I mean, I don't think it can be $1 million house. No, no, they just said limited value. Can't be something, I mean, it could be a house. Yes, it's very subjective, but it could be a house. You can get them a condo. You don't have to worry, because we do have, obviously, housing, lack of housing. So more than welcome to buy a condo, buy a house. They can, afford it. You can leave them your house. So these are just my asset reduction suggestions. Again, is purchase a prepaid burial, exempt trust funds, stable accounts. So if somebody's deemed disabled through Social Security, you can get them a stable account. And you go online to stableaccount.com. It's very simple. You start up an account, and you have a password and an email, and answer some questions. One question is, how do they qualify? And you have all these check marks. Well, Social Security disability benefits, or because of this or that. You can put it into bank safe. So where the money goes in, it's bank safe. It's not gaining or losing. Or you can put it in the stock market. But if you put it in the stock market, then you're going to start getting yourself into taxes and all that good stuff. So bank safe is probably the best way. Somebody who's not working can put in $19,000 a year. People don't put money in for them. If somebody is working also, they can put in another $15,060 a year total. So both of them together. Maximum life, if you're not working, is $100,000 that you can have in there, and for working is $517,000 you can contribute to it. You can take out the money whenever you want for what you want and need. You just go online and transfer the funds. You can set it up to, say I know every month I'm $500 a month over my asset limit in my bank account. I can set it up to where automatically $500 goes in there every month. Or I can just transfer money over whenever I want. I can have a bank card and go in there and have them put money on my bank card. It takes a few days. So if I'm going on vacation, I want money on my bank card, I know to go ahead of time, and then I'll have money on my bank card for when I go on vacation. It's a debit card. And then when you go into an account, gives you everything, how much is in there, how much you withdrew, how much you put in. It's actually pretty cool. But no. Yeah. You have to be disabled. There's no need for anybody else to have a stable account unless you're disabled because you're receiving benefits. So this is to help individuals with disabilities save money, like we have 401s or IRAs or mutual funds. This way they can save for the future. The only thing I'm going to explain is if you're on SSI benefits, Social Security supplemental income, you can take money out to pay your rent and your food and utilities. But if you take it out in May, you need to pay it in May, or it's going to count against you. Okay? So if you take it out for rent, utilities, food, and things like that, and you're on SSI benefits, you need to pay your rent right away. Don't hang on to it for the next month. Okay? I don't want to know. She asked if I was a parent and I'm collecting the rent, can I put the money in a stable account? I said, I don't want to know. Do whatever you want. You can put money in. No. Correct. It's just a restriction on how much a year. How they know it's for rent? If you just transfer it out of their account, they don't know it's for rent. If you just, because here's what you do. All right, the stable account, you're online. You're going to connect the stable account to the person's bank account. That's how the money gets transferred. So if you just take that 300 out of that account and just throw it over there, in your mind it's for rent, nobody's going to know. Anybody here from the IRS? Oh my, yes. Whoever has the password. I don't, she has Medicaid. Medicaid pays for her surgeries. This has nothing to do with that. You don't have to spend this before you use your Medicaid. This is so they can have their savings for the future. You know. Now, some things Medicaid doesn't cover if somebody's just on Medicaid. You know, you need something dental, okay? Because Medicaid doesn't pay for looks. They just pay for necessity. You know, you can take the money out for that. You want to go on a vacation? Go on a vacation. Furniture, I need new furniture. I need medical equipment that Medicaid doesn't pay for, and I, you know. Yep. How am I doing? Good. Good. Thanks, Joy. Okay, now, if the beneficiary, or I get this a lot, is contributing to a defined contribution plan, a 401 annuity, a deferred comp, the beneficiary is not able to have an ABLE account, a stable account, ABLE account. Also, if somebody has a 401k, if they can't touch it until retirement, it's not an asset. Okay? Now, if they're able to dip into it, even if they get taxed and fined because they dip into early, whatever they can take out is a cash asset. So as long as it's an account that the employer set up where the individual can't touch it till retirement, it's not an asset. Another way to reduce your assets is spend your money. That's what that's what individuals had to do before, but now we have the stable account, so that now we don't have to keep spending our money, you know, what do I got to buy now, you know? Let me just explain before I go into this one, this Social Security benefit. Children, for SSI benefits, it's based off of parents' income also, not just their disability. So if parents are making too much money, they're not going to, it's not that the child's not qualified for the disability, the child's not qualified because of the parent's income. So if that's the case, once somebody's 18, you want to reapply. Because then they're their own person. I don't mean it like that, but you know. Okay. Even if you become guardian, they're still their own person. They can still, at 18. Okay. Questions yet? The parent's income doesn't count. No, after 18. Once they turn 18, the parent's income does not count. Under 18, the parent's income will count. So somebody may or may not get SSI based on the parent's income. Of course, they have to be deemed disabled, but the individual child can also be deemed disabled but not get it because of the parent's income. Yes. No, you can work. Yeah, I'm gonna get more into all this. For one, we just went over SSI. If somebody's getting SSI benefits, you can work. But I showed you how the calculation sheet, you're not going to get the full check. Now I'm getting into being off the parent's benefit or off your own benefit and having more discussions as far as working and where you got to keep your income at and things like that. Just depends on how much they were working. Well, it depends on how much they were going to work. Then they're fine. 20 hours or less, you're fine. You're not going to. The main number this year is $1,620 a month gross. That's the main key for all your benefits. If you're starting to apply for SSI benefits, you have to be under that. If you're on a parent's benefit or your own work record, you have to stay under $1,620 a month gross income, your earned income from your job. Okay, so yeah. Okay. All right, so I'm receiving off my dad's benefit. Okay. I was deemed disabled before age 22. I was eligible for SSI benefits. My father paid into Social Security. He's deceased. I pull off of his benefits now. I can draw off of his Social Security benefits. Now, if he just retired, I could still draw off his benefits. It just isn't going to be as much because he's drawing as well. If somebody has a Social Security statement and it says something about your dependents and whatnot, that's going to be, because usually it's half when the parent is retired, unless there's two siblings drawing. Then they kind of split that half. Okay. Children under 18, not just children with disabilities, other children. If a parent becomes disabled or passes away and they paid into Social Security, those minor children are going to get Social Security benefits off the parent. Once those children are 18, they're no longer eligible for that benefit. But if I was disabled when I turned 18, now I have to go and apply for my disability, because under 18, it's not because the child's disabled, it's because the parent's deceased or disabled. Does that make sense? So then you want to go, because somebody, my child's been receiving this all along, now they're 18 and we're not getting any more. Well, it was because the child was a minor. Now let's go reapply for their disability. You can have concurrent benefits. For this Social Security benefit, there's no resource limit, asset limit for this benefit. You can have as much money in the bank as you want. However, most of our individuals also have Medicaid, $2,000 asset limit, unless they're in the buy-in program, which we're going to get to that. Yes. I probably the better of the two. Mm-hmm. No, you can go back. Like yes, I just had, I was helping another SSA, the family. This individual, I used to be his provider a long time ago, so I know the whole thing. And I was his aunt's SSA. But anyways, enough of that. See, I go elsewhere. So this individual, he's been having problems with his Social Security benefits. So I was talking to the SSA, and Then I talked to the mom, and she said, well, his SSI has been, cut off 2 years ago, and I don't know why. So I said, did your husband pay into Social Security? She said, no. He paid into something. I said, did you pay into Social Security? She said, well, yeah. So I kind of asked her what she was collecting just to see what he should be collecting off hers. Well, she retired in 1998. Nobody told Social Security that they have a disabled adult child. So I'm on a phone call, three-way phone call, because mom's now in Pennsylvania, so is the sister with Social Security, and I asked about it. First, I kind of wanted to know what happened to the SSI, but first now I want to know what happened to the SSD off of mom's benefit. Well, the guy was like, oh my, because now they might have to go back to 1998 and pay him that. But deduct what he's already been paid from SSI. So that's we're in the process with that. So yes, they're going to go back to that. Yeah. So he might have a big payment. Correct. However, if off the parent's benefit, if you're getting $1,000 a month off your parents, you no longer are eligible for SSI because it exceeds the SSI benefit amount of $967. So now you're just receiving that check off your parents' benefit. That's also true to if you worked and you're receiving off of your own work benefit. If it's over the $967 a month, that's when you're done with SSI altogether, because now you're receiving this check. Right? Yes. Yeah, if she's getting over 967 from her work, she's not going to be eligible for the supplemental income of SSI at all. Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. But if you're getting 600 off of a parent's benefit, you're still eligible for 367 a month off of SSI. Okay? Assets is how much you have in your savings. You still have the $2,000 asset limit if you're on SSI or on Medicaid. Most of our individuals are on Medicaid. You still have a $2,000 asset limit. Yes. Yes. And also, if you get $1 from SSI, you still get Medicaid. You're eligible for Medicaid still. So that's also a $2,000 asset limit. If you're just receiving Social Security benefits off your parent or off of your own and no Medicaid, you can have $50,000 in your account. But when you throw that Medicaid into there, now you got back down to that 2,000. That's why the stable account's a good idea. Oh, so let's go over. I have a calculation. I have a calculation sheet. We'll go over so maybe you'll understand, a little bit more. This one I want to go over. It says unearned income, earned income, and SSI. So this one is about somebody who's receiving money off of a parent or off their own work record. They're working and they're still getting little SSI benefits. So this is going to calculate their SSI check. Oh, we all got that one? Not the one with the impairment related work expense. The unearned income, earned income, and SSI. Okay. So this person receives unearned income of $400 a month. That could either be off their parents' benefit or their own work record. But it's unearned income that they're receiving. They're receiving another check. We take a $20 exclusion off of this. The general earned income exclusion minus it. So it's countable unearned income is $380 is what they're counting. Now we're going to leave the unearned income alone. This person earns $800 a month gross income. Okay, not a student. So we're still at the remainder of 800. We use that $20 of general earned income exclusion above, so we can't use it again. So we still have 800. Earned income exclusion is $65. So you subtract that from the 800 and you got 735. We do not have an impairment related work expense. So the remainder is still 735. Social Security is going to divide that by 2. That's 367.50. So total countable earned income from the 800, Social Security is counting $367.50. Okay. So then you go total countable unearned income, you bring that 380 down from that other Social Security check. Total countable earned income is 367.50. Total countable income altogether is 747.50. So Social Security is going to count 380 of your other Social Security check. They're going to count 367.50 of your earned income against your SSI check. So then your SSI rate this year is 967 minus the 747.50. This person's still going to get $219.50 of an SSI check. So again, the SSI isn't dollar for dollar. They do some income disregards. So it's kind of like they disregard the first $85 and it's $1 for every 2 you earn is what they take away from your SSI check. Except for when you have the other Social Security check. So now this person has SSI, they work, and they're getting a check off of their parent or their own work record. And their total income is $1,419.50 with all that. Does that make sense? I just want to make sure I'm explaining things okay, because sometimes, like I said, I go too fast, or I might have to reiterate it. And everybody's just staring at me. Okay. After you're on your parents' benefit for 24 months, you get Medicare. So now you have Medicaid and Medicare. If you sub the Medicaid, yes. Medicare's primary, Medicaid's secondary in that case. So 24 months after being on your parents' benefit, doesn't matter how old you are, you're going to get Medicare. Okay, this one's off of your own work record. I've been on SSI, I'm working, I'm paying into Social Security, I'm getting work credits through Social Security. You have to have 4 work credits a year, and depending on the age, I'm going to show you a page where you guys can look at the work credits yourself, but depending on the age, if I'm younger, the faster I'm going to earn work credits, and the faster I'm going to start drawing off of my own work record. The older I am, it's going to take a little longer. But eventually, I'm going to start drawing off of my own work record. Okay? So as I'm earning and paying into my own work record, not my Social Security check off my own is going up based on my earnings, my SSI check's going to keep coming down. Okay? Social Security wants you off of SSI. That's a supplemental income. They want you on one of the other benefits. So this is still going to be like the same scenario we just went over because it's an unearned income with the working and how much SSI somebody's going to get. But now you're drawing off of your own work record. Again, no asset limit with this benefit unless you're on Medicaid. Okay. Medicaid state by state rules too. So Social Security is federal and Medicare is federal. Also, 24 months after being on your own benefit, you're going to get Medicare also. No questions? Quiet? Okay. That must mean I'm doing a good job. Okay. This is the work credit formulas. You can look at that on your own. but I'll just let you know you have to receive 4 credits a year. 2025, you have to make 7,240 for the year to get 4 credits. 1 credit is $1,810. These are your calculations. Minimum of 6 credits are required for somebody who's under 31 to start drawing off of their own benefit. So we got a lot. We have a lot of individuals who are like 25, 30 years old drawing a huge check off of their own because they've been working. You know, nice check. But anyways, okay. So you have that in your PowerPoint. Okay. Did you guys want to take a quick break? And then we'll come back because this is, yeah. Let's take a quick break, 5-minute break. Oh, she sent it to you for you to print. You didn't print it. That's quite all right. It's in your email. It's your email. Okay. Everybody ready? Yes? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to talk about substantial gainful activity, things that can affect your Social Security check, your check off of your own work record or off your parents' work record. Things that we can maybe look at so the individual can work more and still keep their Social Security check. Because here's the thing, if I'm receiving off of my dad's benefit or my own work benefit and I have a job, I'm employed, and I'm making over $1,620 a month gross for a long period of time, Social Security is going to tell me I'm not disabled anymore and take away my Social Security check. So, but there's things that we can do to try and where you can continue doing that work, but maybe Social Security will only count this much income instead of this much income. So just bear with me. All right. Okay, so again, substantial gainful activity this year is $1,620 a month gross income. This is only when your earned income. This has nothing to do with any of your Social Security checks. It's when you're working and you're on Social Security that you got to watch out for the $1,620 per month. I'm not going to get into this whole trial work period and all this stuff because you have to go through all that first in Social Security's eyes. My main thing is $1,620 a month, stay under gross earned income. Okay? You're going to go through the trial work period. You have to go through the trial work period and then this period, and then they're going to really look at your income. Okay? But if you constantly stay under the substantial gainful activity, you're fine. Okay. That's their eligibility period. Like I said, it takes a little bit, but just stay under that amount. Impairment-related work expense. An impairment-related work expense is something that the individual pays out of their own pocket, not their waiver, not their Medicaid, not another agency, but they're paying out of their own pocket so they can work. For instance, we have individuals that, here's the thing we can do. We have individuals who are making income and they want to keep working, but the waiver, everybody know what a waiver is? Oh, thank you. Sorry. So the waiver is paying for their non-medical transportation to get them to and from work. Yes. I believe your son has a waiver. Does he have services? Do we help with transportation? Scott's not on a waiver? Okay, a waiver is provides funding for giving transportation to and from work, provider services, different services that the county boards offers and DOD offers. I swear Scott's on a waiver, but we'll talk about it. Okay. All right. Yes. Yes, it's It's coming up. There it is. Central vision acuity of 20/200 or less. In the better eye with best correction. Oh, you didn't print the PowerPoint. Sorry. The PowerPoint she sent to you guys, you're supposed to print, but it's up here. So that's the definition of blind. Okay. Let me go back. Okay. I need special transportation to get to work because I can't drive myself. So my waiver's paying for it. Okay. I'm making more than $16.20 a month gross, but I don't want to give up some hours. You know, I like to work. We'll talk about that one later. But so I can pay some of my transportation trips, and then the waiver can pay some of it. So that way I'm giving myself an impairment-related work expense. So say I'm making $1,800 a month gross. If I paid $180 a month of my own transportation and I submitted it to Social Security, that's an impairment-related work expense. They will deduct that off of my earned income, and now I'm below $16.20 a month. Transportation costs, mileage allowance for own vehicle, costs for other transportation. Yes. Okay. Here's some examples. If I have to pay for medication and I can't work if I didn't have my medication. A lot of our individuals do have Medicaid, so their medication's covered, but it's just an example. Attendant care. I can pay for a provider an hour before, an hour and after my job, and use that as an impairment-related work expense if I paid it out of my own pocket. Just have it taken out of my units, out of my ISP for a provider. Because we do have a lot of individuals that want to work, and it's not really about the. It's about our individuals want to work. So let's help them work those hours. But yeah, they might have to pay a little bit of their services, but they're happy. The individuals are happy because they're still working the hours that they want to work. So there's ways we can sit down and figure it out. Right. Okay. You guys are a tough crowd. All right. So anything that's not purchased through the waiver, purchased through Medicaid, or purchased through anything else other than the individual that they need to go to work, especially equipment. That's an impairment-related work expense. I have a wheelchair vehicle. I need a new ramp so I can go to work. If the ramp's $12,000, I can spread that impairment-related work expense over 12 months. So they'll deduct $1,000 a month off of my income. So some of the larger purchases, if you paid for it yourself, can be deducted within a 12-month period. So now 12 months now, I paid for my ramp, but I'm not going to lose my Social Security check because they're not counting that $1,000 a month. Okay. Any questions about impairment-related work expenses? Anybody want to add? Okay. Here's an example. Now, you can also use an impairment-related work expense for SSI benefits, okay? Not just SSD benefits. SSI benefits, you're going to pay for it, and you're going to get some of that money back in your SSI check, okay? The other Social Security benefit, it's just going to get you under substantial gainful activity so you don't lose your Social Security check. So if we look at this one, this is for SSDI. Again, substantial gainful activity is $16.20 a month gross. My earned income is $1,700 a month. My impairment-related work expense is $300 a month because I'm paying for transportation. So my earned income's 1,700. They call it earwee, by the way. Earwee. So if you hear earwee, that reminds me of those little bugs. Isn't there little bugs? Earwigs. Okay, sorry. Is 300 a month. Is 300 a month. So my income that's counted by Social Security is 1,400 a month. So now I'm below SGA and I keep my Social Security check. So that's how we use that with that benefit. SSI, the benefit rate is $967 a month. My gross income is $1,200. My impairment related work expense is $300. So then they take my income, like that calculation sheet I showed you before with SSI and earned income. My income's $1,200 a month. I get an $85 exclusion because I didn't have unearned income. So that $20 from up top came down. $1,115. Then they minus my impairment related work expense of $300 equals $815. They divide that by half. It's $407.50. Okay. Again, the benefit rate is $967. They only counted $407.50 of my $1,200 income because they took off some of the impairment related work expense. So my SSI check's $559.50. Without the $300 impairment related work expense, my SSI check would have been $409.50. So I spent $300 on impairment related work expense under SSI benefits, but they gave me $150 of it back. They gave me half back. Okay. Yes. Okay. SSI, you're disabled. Okay, I'm disabled. I never worked. My parent is not retired, deceased, or disabled. Social Security deems me disabled. I'm going to get SSI, Social Security supplemental income, from that pot of money. Okay? If later on my dad retired, they're going to switch me from SSI to off my dad's. I'm going to have to go apply. So now I'm going to get off my dad's. If my dad's check is more than the $967 a month of SSI, I'm off of SSI completely. I'm going to get off my father's check. Okay. If my dad's is under $967, say it's $500 a month, I'm going to get that check off my dad's, but I'm still going to get an SSI benefit to supplement. If I'm working, I'm on SSI benefits and I'm working, I'm paying in the Social Security. I'm earning work credits. Eventually, I'm going to start drawing off of my own check. Then I'm going to start getting less of SSI. Yes, and you paid in the credits. It's going to automatically happen because they'd rather have you off of your pot of money that you paid into than the SSI pot of money. Yeah. Now, you can receive off of yours and your parents. You can receive two, 3 checks. Okay? Because you can receive SSI, you can receive off your parent. You can receive SSI, receive off of your own. You can receive SSI, yours and your parents. It just all depends. So here's an example of 3 checks. I can get $300 off my dad's, $300 off my own, so that's $600. Now I can still get an SSI check because it's below $967 a month. So I can get 3 checks. I can get 2 checks. I can get off my own and my parents. I keep saying dad. It could be mom, dad. Whoever makes more. No, I'm just kidding. But so I can say I'm receiving $500 off of my own, and I'm allowed to get $1,500 off my father's. They're going to give me the $500 off my own and $1,000 off my dad's to equal the $1,500. I'm no longer eligible for SSI because I'm over that $967 a month. back in the day, what they used to do is between your own or your parents' benefit, they'd give you the better of the two. They'd take it out of that whole pot. So if my father's was better than mine, they would take the whole $1,500 on my dad's pot. Now they say, okay, well, you can get some off of you, draw off of your own work record, and then you can draw off of your dad's. But since this is the bigger number, we're still going to get to that number, but we're going to pull this much off of your own, 500, and 1,000 off of your dad's to equal the 1,500. Yes. No. You only, individually. If you, the only time they look at the whole household is SSI benefits if you're receiving in-kind support, if you're the 967 pays your fair share or not. They don't look at the parents' income and stuff after you're 18, but they want to know, is 967 enough for your fair share of the costs? Okay, so that's the only time they want to know, is there 3 people in the home, 4 people, 5 people? So do you have to pay what? Is 967 going to cover your 1/5 of your share? Or, okay, but they don't look at the other. They look at um they look at how many people are living in the home. Now, if I'm 18 years old, I'm going to get SSI benefits, and I'm living with, you're my mom, and okay, they're going to look at how many people are living in the home, what are the household expenses, total household. Yeah, because even if I have a younger sister, they're still going to count her as how many people in the household, because I shouldn't have to pay her share. Yeah. Yeah. They look at the household expenses. What's the mortgage or the rent? What's the food? That's part of my expense. The utilities, it's part of my expense because I'm using water and all that. So they look at the monthly cost, and they divide it by how many people are living there. Is my $967 a month of SSI going to pay my share? If it does not, I'm not going to get the full 967 of SSI. This is only SSI benefits. Spam, sorry. Well, they just want to know, okay, how much is your mortgage? $1,200. What's your average cost you spend on food a month for a household of 4? $600. What's your utilities? $600. So then they calculate it. They don't want to necessarily see it. Just they want you to tell them. Yeah. Yes. Sure. Okay. Yes. They will. Yes. Yes. Okay. Eventually. Yes. The more the individual works and pays into Social Security and earns work credits, they're going to start getting maybe 200 off of their own. And then maybe 300 off their own. Maybe 500 off their own. Okay. They're still going to get the SSI check. Okay. But it's not going to be the full 967. It's based off of how much their other check is and how much they're earning at work. This SSI check is supplemental. So they're not going to get the full amount if there's other income involved. Once I've worked enough and I'm start drawing off of my own over $1,000 a month of a Social Security check, SSI is gone. That makes sense? Okay. If I start drawing off of yours and it's more than $967 a month, my SSI is gone. But your check and my check, they don't fluctuate. If it's $1,000 a month, it's $1,000 a month, $1,000 a month. Doesn't matter how much, what I'm earning. As long as I don't go over $1,620 a month gross, I keep that 1,000 a month and my paychecks. SSI is different. That's the one that fluctuates because it's supplemental. Okay. Check off of me, a check off of you. That check I get. It's $1,500 a month. I get that $1,500 a month and my income. You'll just get SSI unless your parent retires, deceased, or disabled, and they paid into Social Security. You just get SSI the whole time. And that benefit rate usually goes up every year. This year it's $967. Last year it was $940 something. And then the one year there was a big increase in Social Security. It was a big, was it 8% increase? Something like that. I have it all in my office. It's not, yeah. It could be a step parent who adopted you or raised you. Yeah. Yes. 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 Yeah. Mm-hmm. Does this make sense? We good? But remember, you have to submit all that, the receipts and stuff, to Social Security and say, this is my impairment-related work expense. And they have to approve it. Okay? The blind work expenses are higher than an individual that's not blind. This is the definition. That's the word. Okay. Condition has to last or expected to last at least 12 months. Okay. And for SSI, there's no duration requirement. But for SSD, it has to be expected to last at least 12 months to get Social Security disability on your own work record. Their substantial gainful activity for an individual who's blind is $2,700 a month gross income. Also, there's blind work expenses as well, to where if somebody's making the $2,700 a month or more, there's things an individual can pay for to bring down their earned income for Social Security reasons. Subsidies. I like subsidies, just so you know. Okay. Subsidies. You have in your packet this packet that says Westfield Group and a Social Security 821 form. I just had a conversation with an employer this morning on Teams. So what a subsidy is, an individual with a disability is working, earned income. All right, I'll just say me. I'm working. I have a disability. I'm starting to go over substantial gainful activity because I want to work all the hours I can. I could receive what's called a subsidy from my employer. I'm going to explain. Submit to Social Security, and then Social Security will count what my employer thinks is my subsidy. Okay, let me explain it. This is a job description, somebody's job description at Westfield. I sat down with Westfield years ago and we did this because we had an individual working there and her father worked there. And he used to be a board member here, so I had to, but I'm just kidding. Sorry. So, on this person's job description, it was prepare food, clean, cut, sort, present package display, store label date, portion control, serve food, replenish products, so forth and so on. So we sat down and did this chart in your packet. It's not up here. So we decided, okay, we're going to essential functions. What are the functions of the job description? We're going to write them down. Okay. Each day, how much percentage of time is it going to take during the day for this job, the functions? So like prepare food, sort, cut, combine, and present. It takes like 30% of the day. It should take 30% of the day. All right. Follow recipe cards and all that, 5%. Train on sanitation procedures, 10% of the day. Full performance for these job descriptions for these functions is 100%. This individual was doing 60% of the food, sort, cut, combine, present compared to my coworker who without a disability. This individual was doing 0% with following recipe cards because this person was not able to read. So other employers were helping her. So she's at 0% than my coworkers and so forth. So these are kind of the breakdown. So my employer says, well, overall, she's receiving a 40% subsidy. What it is really saying is this person is working at 60%. And earning 60% of the wages we're paying her. So if I'm making $10 an hour and my boss says that I'm only working 60% and earning 60% of my pay, I'm only earning $6 an hour, but they're still going to pay me $10 an hour. Does that make sense? So okay, well, but I'm working. I want to keep working, and my boss wants me there. But now I'm going over substantial gainful activity. Well, my boss can fill out this form, the next form. It's actually looks different now, but it's similar. This is an older form, just because it's my example. If anybody wants a newer one, I can get it for you. It's on socialsecurity.gov, but I can get it for you. Basically, this form is for my employer to fill out on me so we can give it to Social Security. Am I completing all the usual duties? Do I complete all the duties without special assistance? Do I get extra help? Do I do less tasks than my coworkers? Okay. So my employer would fill out this form, and then on the back, like I said, the new form is different, but it's similar. What's my productivity? What am I earning? Well, this person was doing 60% of what other employees' productivity is. So my employer said I'm getting a 40% subsidy. So say I'm, like I said, say $10 an hour at 40 hours a week is over SGA. I submit this to Social Security. There's another packet you have in there that the individual and the family fills out about your work activity. Your SSA can help, I can help. You submit these two together, and Social Security will determine if they're going to accept your subsidy. If they accept your subsidy, they're only going to count the $6 an hour, not the $10 an hour. They'll bring you below SGA. You're still going to get paid the $10 an hour. You're still going to work all those hours. But Social Security says you're receiving a subsidy. They're going to pay you anyways. So we're just going to count what you're earning, what you're working. That makes sense? But they still get paid the $10. But Social Security is only going to count the $6 an hour. Yeah. Well, yeah, the employer's not going to get anything out of it other than the employee continue working the hours that they want need the person to work. It's going to benefit the individual to be able to work those hours because they want to, keep their Social Security check because they're under SGA now. Yes. Pretty cool. I just talked to an employer this morning. However, here's the problem with Social Security. If you don't keep track of their monies, okay, and keep them under $16.20 a month, Social Security is going to catch up with you. I had somebody come in last week, and then I talked to the employer today, but last week, this individual should have lost their check in 2022. So not only did Social Security stop the check, now they got to pay $27,900 back because Social Security's been paying them. Obviously, Social Security didn't catch it until now. Well, I'm not saying. Just once. Unless they change jobs, go somewhere else. You're going to want to redo it with another employer. You can talk if you feel confident to talk to the employer about the paperwork, you can talk to them, a job coach, maybe an SSA. Sorry guys. I can help. Okay? So this person from this morning, I calculated, because we're trying to get the subsidy, obviously, to go back to when this person started working there in 2022 or 21, which they will if the employer puts that on the packet. This person needs a 40% subsidy. Don't think he's going to get it. But I did talk to the employer today because they wanted to determine their subsidy. I can't tell them what we need. I'm not doing that. Person's probably doing about 70-80% of productivity of everybody else. I'm like, oh, not 60? No. Yeah. But I went over the form with them and explained it all. So they're supposed to submit it. If we don't get a 40%, this person's Social Security is going to stay gone and have to pay back the back pay. Another thing about this case also, the individual wasn't only receiving Social Security off of a parent, the individual was also receiving a VA benefit off the parent. The person who's in charge of the person's money didn't know all this, so I'm not blaming anybody. Or us actually found out from the VA that he doesn't have to give Job and Family Services the VA income towards the Medicaid. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Yes. If they're under, it's called MAGI Medicaid, no, you don't. But if you're under waiver Medicaid, and especially if you're receiving Medicare, also, yes, you do. So this has not been claimed in 4 years. So we have a mess we're dealing with right now. So that's where we're at with that. So keep track of every single thing. SSI benefits, Social Security supplemental income, that benefit that's just a supplemental income, please submit the income every month. If you're on the other two benefits, please keep track of substantial gainful activity. Okay? Here's how I calculate income, by the way. Say I make $400 a week gross, I times it by 4.3 for that month. Because there's some weeks is longer, and it's what you earned in that month. So times it by 4.3, and that's what you're going to get as far as your gross income that month. Okay? Just keep track. It's very, very important. Any questions on subsidies? You guys are quiet. Oh, I thank you. Yes. Correct. Correct. This can only be used if somebody's going over substantial gainful activity. You don't need it. You're trying to save that Social Security check. Again, if I'm working too much and I'm making over substantial gainful activity for a long period of time, Social Security is going to say, you're not disabled. I'm taking back that check. So like the individual I was just talking about, apparently he wasn't disabled since 2022, but Social Security 2025 just caught up with it. We want our $27,900 back. Yeah. So somebody, and just so you know, that goes up, the thresholds go up every year. Last year it was $1,550 because sometimes people get raises. Social Security gets a raise, they kind of give a little leeway for that. If somebody says, oh, my son's working and they want to give him a raise, I don't want to give him a raise. I don't want them to give him a raise. Well, let's see what we can do. Let's talk about it. Oh, he wants to work 5-10 more hours a week. Well, let's talk about it. Maybe we can come up with something. Don't always just say no or worry, because there's ways to keep the benefits. Okay? Unless somebody doesn't want the benefits. They want to work their way off. Fine. Then work. Good. Yes. Beck. How do I explain it? I just kind of explained. Well, I just kind of explained how I explained to you, but I didn't. No, for one, it's not going to affect the employer whatsoever, other than your individuals that you want to keep working is going to keep working the hours they're working. Okay. So it's not going to give them anything, monetary or take anything from them. They're not reported for, you know what I mean? It's for the individuals so they can keep working and keep their Social Security check. So that's how I explained it at first. The subsidy is about an individual who's going to be going over the income limit. Okay. Social Security says this is all you can make. You're going to lose the Social Security check. Well, we don't want to lose the check. I mean, what happens if down the line you're not working? You already proved substantial gainful activity. You're not giving it back unless you got 5 years. If you lose the check, you got 5 years. If I lost my job in those 5 years, and I can prove, now it's hard to do, but if I can prove I lost my job for the disability that I was deemed disabled through Social Security for, I can go and fight and get my check back, and they can reinstate it. Has to be for that, not because I just can't do it. Why can't you do it? Is it because of your disability? I mean, now we need to prove it though, because you can't just, so you can get it reinstated. Hard to do. After 5 years, you have to totally reapply. No, I would say maybe I was diagnosed with muscle issues, and now I'm deteriorating a little bit. Now I can't work those hours anymore. Okay, I got Social Security because of the muscle. No, it's on the part of the person's disability where they can't, something's now keeping them from working as much. Yes. Through the work assessments Those don't usually count because they're just work assessments. Yeah. Yeah, but it's like a couple weeks or so is the work assessment. Yeah. Those are like job trials, work assessments to determine what assistance you might need getting community employment, if you're ready for community employment, things like that. Those, yeah. Right. Possibly. Substantial gainful activity goes up every year too. SGA goes up every year. This year it's 1620 a month gross. Last year it was 1550 a month gross. The year before it was 1480 a month gross. And before that was less. So every year Social Security increases the thresholds that you're allowed to make. But if it's going more than that, then we might need to talk about a subsidy. I think we've talked about this before, back when we met. Okay, well, we're going to meet again. Yeah. Are we awake? All right. Good. All right. So again, that's subsidy calculation again. I don't have, okay. Medicaid and Medicare. We're going to go over Medicaid. There's different ways an individual can have Medicaid. You get SSI benefits, you're qualified for SSI benefits, you're automatically going to get Medicaid. It's supposed to qualify you automatically for Medicaid. Two separate entities. So if somebody gets SSI and they haven't gotten their Medicaid yet, call Job and Family Services because it should be coming. Something triggers it now. Back in the day when somebody was qualified for SSI benefits, we'd have to take the award letter over to Job and Family Services and apply for Medicaid. Now it's supposed to automatically ding it. Obviously, Medicaid, $2,000 in assets. Okay. There's a lot to go over as far as Medicaid. All right. If you're eligible for a waiver is that service that helps individuals. If you're eligible for an IO waiver, individual options waiver, self waiver, one of our waivers, you're gonna get Medicaid for the most part because it waives a certain amount of income. Okay. People used to believe, well, this person can't get a waiver because they're not Medicaid eligible. Well, they're not Medicaid eligible because of the other rule. But waiver has a different rule. So you apply for Medicaid, you just also send in that 2399 form. You guys know what I'm talking about? Yay! Yes. To request a waiver. Yes. There you flunked. I'm telling Alexis. But anyways. Oh, there you go. All right, you're off the hook. You're off the hook. So you fill out a 7200 form, which is a Medicaid application form. Then we would also send in a 2399 form with that form telling Job and Family Services we're applying for a waiver. Because if we didn't send in that form, they're automatically going to process that application and deny you because if you're over an income limit, you're going to get denied. If they know you're getting a waiver, they're going to hold that application until the whole waiver process goes through. That's a long story, but anyways, I don't even know why I went there, but okay. So your income limits are different, but I'll explain that. When you have a waiver, there's a specific needs allowance, though, as far as how much money you can earn before you have to start paying for your Medicaid waiver. Okay, it's 3 times the SSI amount. So plus the 65 disregard. So it's 1900 something months. So I have a waiver. All right. I'm going to back up. SSI benefits, I don't pay for my Medicaid. I get it. Okay. I have a waiver And it's called long-term disability insurance now, if you look on your Job and Family Services paper, because they keep changing names of everything, so it's confusing, but it's long-term care or something like that. If my income, all of my income combined, earned and unearned income, is more than the Medicaid needs allowance, I will have to pay the difference, anything above the needs allowance, as a patient liability for my waiver. Okay? So they disregard so much income, but after that, then you're going to have to pay. I got calculations. We'll go over it in a minute. Oh, and then the government decided to come out with what's called a qualified income trust, or in other words, Miller's Trust. Somebody in long-term care on a waiver or in a nursing home or whatnot, but if not in the buy-in program, we're going to, if I have a waiver or I'm in a nursing home and I'm on Medicaid, if I bring my income's more than $2,901 a month, anything above that has to go into a qualified income trust. You have to go to a bank. There's a form you fill out. The banks are supposed to know about this. Anything above that has to be filtered into the qualified income trust. The government doesn't want anybody to have money, so put it in there. The problem is only that money can be used for anything medical. Well, I have Medicaid, I have Medicare. There's somebody has to put in $500 a month. $500 a month has to go into the QIT trust and can only take it out for medical reasons. Band-Aids, over-the-counter cough syrup, Tylenol. Yeah, yes. Yes. You mean because of being on a public employee and then into Social Security? Yes, yes. It has to. Any income, all your income combined, and you're in a nursing home or assisted living with Medicaid, you have to put it in there. Yes. You're welcome. Yes. And the problem is you can only take it out for medical things. But you can take it out for, like, again, Medicaid doesn't pay for, like, pretty teeth, you know. They're just going to pay for fillings and, surgery, So if you want cosmetic, that's the word I was looking for. It came to me. Whew. So it won't pay for cosmetic stuff, so maybe you want to pay for that out of your income trust. Yeah. Medicaid's coming back and saying we want some of our money back. Stable accounts the same way. So is a exempt trust fund. Medicaid, if you're on Medicaid, Medicaid's going to come back at the end and take some of that money back of that they spent on the individual and whoever. Yes, if there's any money left. Yeah. My dad didn't have any, so no, just kidding. There's nothing to give. The stable account, yes. Yes, but you can take the money out and pay like funeral expenses and other things that needed to be paid before Medicaid comes back. Not saying they're taking everything, but they're going to determine an amount and they're going to want their money back. Now, if you have two children with a disability, you can set the stable accounts to go to the other sibling. Any questions about any of this yet? Are you confused or are you with me? That's optional. It depends on what you want. Well, the Medicaid's coming with the SSI no matter what. That's not optional. But your insurance is primary, Medicaid secondary. Yours is primary, Medicaid secondary. So what yours doesn't cover, Medicaid will come in and cover all of it. Deduct all that. I'm coming next. It's coming. Woo! It's coming. Anybody need a break yet? Yes. Not yet. I'm getting there. Yes. Okay. What do you mean? If you... Yeah, I did that with this individual for the $27,900 and some dollars. Huh? I just did it with the person, the payee, this week. I helped apply to Social Security for that big $27,000 back overpayment. I helped apply for a waiver to request them to waive the overpayment. So the individual doesn't have to pay it back to Social Security. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to work. They want their money. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You can request. Well, and this person has a little bit of money in their stable account, so they're definitely going to want their money back. Now, if you have no money and you spent it all and there's no money sitting there, they can set up a monthly payment. Yes. Yep. Yep. No, it's just telling you how you can get Medicaid, ways you get Medicaid. So, okay. So, individuals who cannot get Medicaid. The individual does not have a waiver. They're not on SSI. Okay, this is the individual that can. What? Sorry. You're too slow, is that what you said? Oh. Oh, that was slow. Thank you. So, if the individual is not on a waiver, they don't have a waiver, okay? They're not on SSI benefits, okay? They're not in the Medicaid buy-in program. You have to be working to be in the buy-in program. We'll get to that. Then they can't have more than $967 a month income in 2025. So in other words, they can't be over the SSI benefit rate. Okay, so if I'm earning $980 a month and I'm not on SSI, I don't have a waiver, I'm not in the Medicaid buy-in program, I'm not getting Medicaid. If you're on a waiver, you have in the Medicaid. If you have a waiver, you have the Medicaid. That trumps that. This is if you do not have. This is what you're not. If the individual does not have a waiver, they're not getting Medicaid. If they don't have SSI benefits, they're not getting Medicaid. All right? If they don't have these things, they're not getting Medicaid. You couldn't have. They may have done an error. Sometimes JFS does errors. Sometimes people, to err is human. You press a wrong button, something's going to happen. And I've had that because I also, if somebody has an issue with their JFS or, their Medicaid, a lot of the SSAs will get me a signed release so I can talk to JFS because I understand what they're talking about more. Same with Social Security. And there's been an accidental press the wrong button. and then they go back and fix it. But if it has a waiver, right? Then there shouldn't have been an issue. Okay. Well, we can talk about that if you want to. After we can. Perfect. No, I mean, if you want to set time up, absolutely. One more thing as far as it says eligible for grandfather clause. I'm going to explain the grandfather clause. It doesn't work if you have a waiver, okay? But I'm on SSI benefits. I have my Medicaid. Okay? I don't have a waiver. I'm not working, so I'm not in the buy-in. So I got my Medicaid. All of a sudden, my dad dies. Okay? Now I'm going to go off of his benefit, and it's $1,200 a month. So now I don't get the SSI anymore, so there goes my Medicaid. I'm not on a waiver. I don't have Medicaid. I'm not working. I'm not in the buy-in, which I'm going to explain the buy-in. There's called a grandfather clause, and not all the workers at JFS know it, especially if they're newer. If I was off my parents' benefit after July 1st of 1987, I automatically am going to keep my Medicaid. They're going to grandfather me in and not count my parents' benefit as income. Because my parents' benefit is the one that took me off SSI and kicked my Medicaid. I'm still going to get my Medicaid. Now, if it's my own work record, no. But if it's off my parent, yes. So if that ever happens to anybody, they don't have a waiver and they were on SSI and all of a sudden, hey, my Medicaid, I'm on my dad's benefit, call Job and Family Services and ask them about the grandfather clause because they should still get their Medicaid. Somebody's off a parent benefit, don't get married. You lose it. Not you, the individual. Not the parent. Not the parent.
I have no prospect.
I don't mean, I meant not the parent, the individual.
No plans.
Well, I was trying to say not the parent, but the individual. Zach, this is not going on YouTube. But anyways, that's why they're recording it. But anyways, as the individual, do not get married. They'll kick you off your parents' benefit. You can have a fake marriage. Okay. Yeah. Don't get a real, it's not fine. Right. Well, if you're off your parents, you're going to lose it. If you're on SSI benefits and you get married, both of you are on SSI, you're not going to both get $967 a month. It is, hold on one second. Sorry, it's in the PowerPoint. It's going to be, it's like $1,400 a month you'll get between the two Ians total. So you lose money. So if any of our individuals want to get married, I mean, that's awesome. But maybe do a wedding, but not a real marriage license or something, unless it's totally understood that their benefits are going to not get changed. How are we doing here so far? Okay. Buy-in, Medicaid buy-in for workers with disabilities. Remember how I told you if I have a waiver and my income went over the Medicaid needs allowance, now I got to pay for my waiver Medicaid? If I'm working, Job and Family Services is going to look at putting me in the Medicaid buy-in program because now maybe I don't have to pay a premium. And I'm going to show you calculations, but the buy-in program is for residents of Ohio between 16 and 64 years old. However, they just changed it now. There's another for people who are 64 and older or 65 and older. They can continue working now. Before it was 64, you're cut off from the buy-in. All right, Okay, all right. So somebody I know was cut off from the buy-in program, still working. Now this individual went from paying nothing for their Medicaid to $600 a month paying for their patient liability for their waiver premium. So he quit working, but I'm going to give you those calculations. You have to be determined disabled through Social Security Administration. And you have to be. Our local JFS, nobody's here from there, right? I love them, don't get me wrong. They were trying to do us a favor, but they thought if individuals had our services and were disabled and had waivers, they automatically qualify for the buy-in program if they were working. We have some individuals who have waivers who do not receive Social Security benefits, so they're not deemed disabled through Social Security. Job and Family Services was putting them in the Medicaid buy-in program. So they weren't paying a premium for their Medicaid because you're allowed a higher amount of money and stuff. And they just pulled those individuals off because they realized they were incorrect. Ohio Department of Job and Family Services said no, they have to be deemed disabled through Social Security, or they're getting pulled out of the buy-in program. So you have to be employed and working taxed work, at least 40 hours per month. Your financial criteria, you have to be under $3,260 per month. Total income earned and under. However, there's a lot of calculations, so they don't count all your income. Joy, are you laughing at me again? She's kicked out. She said her things are glow in the dark. I don't know. If you qualify for the Medicaid buy-in program, you're working and you're on your own Social Security benefit or your parents, because if you're on SSI, you're not going to buy-in anyways because you get the Medicaid for free. So forget SSI benefits out of this one. This is your other two Social Security benefits, and you're working. After you're approved for the buy-in program, you're allowed to have $15,210 in your accounts, assets, not including the stable account. You're allowed to have it sitting in your bank account. I would suggest not, because if you lose your job, you're out of the buy-in. Now what are you going to do with that money? I would just keep putting it somewhere else. I don't know. I didn't hear that. I'll tell you what I'm doing. You know, I got money in the bank and, IRA and stuff like that. When I could start drawing it, I'm shoving it in my safe. So when I'm older, they're not going to take it when I go to a nursing home. Because my oldest daughter said the first time I go potty in my pants, I'm in a nursing home. But she's not going to know the combination of the safe. So that way I could take care of myself. But anyways, I'm seriously, after knowing all this, this is different than the Obamacare. That's for anybody who, and then based on your income, you're going to pay a premium. This is for our individuals with disabilities who are collecting Social Security or on, are working and things like that. Okay. So this is a calculation on if I'm not in the Medicaid buy-in program, but I have a waiver, okay? Remember that needs allowance. My gross income is $2,000 a month. It doesn't matter if it's Social Security earned or whatever. It's all combined. My total income is $2,000 a month. Minus the $1,886 needs allowance, then they give me a $65 disregard. Now I'm going to pay $49 a month for my Medicaid card. Okay? Because I'm over what the exceeding amount that they allow us to have. Okay? I'm working. I'm deemed disabled through Social Security, okay? I'm in the buy-in program now. Now this is how that $2,000 looks. I have unearned income of $1,000. So unearned income is another Social Security check, correct? Not SSI, but one of the other ones. They subtract $20, so we got the $980. We're gonna leave it there. My earned income's $1,000. Subtract $65. It's $935. We divide by half. This is how they calculate my premium. $967.50 a month. Okay. They're going to add my accountable earned and unearned income together. It's $1447.50 a month. If this is under the 150% federal poverty level, I don't pay a premium. This year, 150% federal poverty level, $1,956 a month. I'm not paying anything for my Medicaid. So I'm on a waiver. Now I'm going to have a patient liability. Job and Family Services is going to look and see about the Medicaid buy-in program. So now I'm not paying that $49 a month. I'm not paying anything. Okay? If my total income was higher than $1,956 a month, they would take my income, oh, it's right there, minus any Medicare premiums you're paying. Medicare premium is $185 a month. If you're getting Medicare, it comes out of your Social Security check. Unless there's some unlesses there. So we'll just say I'm earning, my income total was $2,100. You minus the $1,956 a month, okay? You take that total and you times it by 10%, that's my premium. So I might be paying $15 a month. No, you're allowed to have $15,000 in your accounts. Plus you can have your stable accounts. Okay? For Medicaid buy-in. You can't have that in your accounts when you first go into the buy-in. But then you can have $15,210, was it? Where they got the $210, I don't know. But you can keep that in your checking account or your savings account and still have a stable account. But again, I would seriously say don't. Because if you do lose your job after so many months, like I think it's 60 to 90 days, if you don't get another job, you're out of the buy-in program. Now you're over the Medicaid asset limit. Go figure. So now you got to do something with it. Does this make sense? So individuals can work. They can keep their Social Security. We can keep our Medicaid. You know, we don't necessarily going to pay for our Medicaid. There's a lot of ways. Yes. No, you're fine. Oh, okay. If you're in the buy-in program, okay, they're going to mail you a bill. Okay, JFS is supposed to mail you a bill. Do you guys have a premium? But he might not have a premium. He might not have to pay anything. If he's under the $1,956 a month, the 150% federal poverty level, after the disregards of the income, he's not going to have a premium. If he's over the $1,956 a month, after all the income disregards, then he's going to have a small premium. They take the difference and, subtract it and then times it by 10%. The leftover. If it's $100 leftover difference, times 10%, that's $10 a month. You'd get a bill. Correct. Correct. As long as you continue to work. Yes. Yes. And you can still have your stable account and have, now you can have your stable account and have put in 30-some thousand a year in the stable account if you're working. 19,000 a year if you're not working. You're fired. Sorry. She's disturbing me. I'm sorry. Any questions? Any confusion? Am I explaining it good? Good. Okay. Okay. Medicare, again, if you get off your own work record or your parents' work record, the Social Security, you're going to get the Medicare 24 months later. You're eligible. Okay, you're going to get it. All right. And again, if you have Medicare, Medicaid, Medicare is primary, Medicaid secondary. These are the different Medicare Part A, Part B, and then there's some programs. Before I get into all this, there's some Medicaid programs. Your Medicare premium is $185 a month for Part B, which is, you're going to get Part B. They're going to take that $185 a month premium out of the individual's Social Security check every month. That's where the Medicare premium. However, if you have Medicaid and you're under a certain income amount, Medicaid will pay that Medicare premium for you. And then you'll get the $185 in your Social Security check. But there's income limits. So like the Q&B program, for one individual, you have to be under $1,325 a month total income for Medicaid to pay that premium. SLMB, it's another Medicaid program. Here, I don't know. I should switch these up. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Or maybe, wrong way. My apologies. He told me down and keep going. No, forget it. So, the Medicare Savings Programs, I guess I need to switch these up. QMB helps pay for Part A and or Part B premiums, deductibles, coinsurance, and copayments. These are Medicaid programs. SLMB is Specified Low Income Medicare Beneficiary Program, helps pay Part B premiums only and provides extra financial assistance. So it's going to pay that $185 a month. Qualifying QI program, qualifying individual helps pay Part B premiums only. And this you have to apply for every year. And they are granted on a first come, first served basis. Well, let me go back here. No, that's not where. Is that where? Oh. Oh, no. Here. All right, now I explain those. Sorry. I'm going to have to flip that slide. Thank you. So, these are the incomes that you have to be under to get assistance for your Medicare premium. Okay, for each different program. Yes. And it'll tell you when you get a Job and Family Services letter, it's going to tell you, especially if you qualify for it, it's going to say you qualify for the QMB program. That means your Medicare premium is being paid for. Yes. Yes, you will, and it'll probably go up because you're not drawing. It will, because you won't be drawing from it.
But she'd still have the waiver.
She will. Yeah. Now, depending on how much her Social Security benefit is, she might have to pay a little bit for her waiver Medicaid if it's over the $1,900 and some dollars a month. Remember, it was
It isn't right now. So
okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But again, these thresholds go up every year too. So Medicaid's need allowance goes up every year. All these thresholds go up every year. So yes. Did you hear the question? Yeah? Okay. If they're, yes. Yeah. No. Yeah. For your mom? Is she younger? She would, and then she should be able to, yeah. She's on, okay. So she's on retirement. Okay. Does she need any help at home? Is she physically okay? Well, I'm a board member for Western Reserve Area Office on Aging, and there's also, if you have a parent, for some of you know, that's aging and needs assistance in the home, there's passport waivers for people 60 and older. You don't have to be all elderly, 60 and over. Okay. Okay, so she can take care of herself physically and everything. You have to have a little bit of physical need. It doesn't have to be 100%. But you can have aides come in the home and assist with things, even light clean. Huh? No, they're not going to cut your grass. They'll do some light cleaning and go to the grocery shop for you, maybe like prepare a meal, but you have to need a physical need too. Do you need help in the shower? Do you need help getting dressed? Do you need help? You know, you can do some of it, but do you need some extra help? So Western Reserve Area Office on Aging. By all means. Yeah, back when I was first in SSA in 99, our waivers didn't really assist individuals who had more needs like that. Our providers were more about taking out the community, take grocery shop and all that, not showering you and all that. So we were allowed to switch individuals off of our waivers and put them into, when they're older, into a passport waiver. So I did that for somebody. Now it's a no because they have a DD level of care, developmental disability level of care, so they have to be on one of our waivers. We can't switch them there. But I also assisted my ex-mother-in-law with a passport waiver. There's also assisted living waivers. So somebody who can't stay at home all the time, this is not disability, this is older, can't stay at home all the time, so the passport waiver is not going to work for them, because it kind of happened with my dad. They said, no, he needs 24/7, so passport waiver is not going to give 24/7, so then I was looking at assisted living, and again, he was Medicaid eligible, so we were looking at assisted living waiver through Western Reserve Area Office on Aging. There wasn't any opening, so I had to go with a nursing home. But so there's other assistance out there for your parents too. Yay! Or yourself? No, I'm just kidding. If me, I'm almost 60, so I'll be qualifying. For assisted living? No. Your income's never too low for a waiver. Maybe because the assisted living, you have to pay a portion of it. You know how when you go in a nursing home, I don't know if you all know this. Right. They didn't have enough Social Security to pay for that piece. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because like when you go into a nursing home, they're going to take all my money and give me $40 a month to get my hair done, my makeup. And they're keeping the rest of my room and board. That's why I'm putting the money in the safe. Sorry. All right. Well, here we are. Any questions? Sorry. Any questions? Go ahead. They have to be 18. 18. Yes, 18. But I'm going to also, one quick thing about an individual turning 18, if they don't have a certain, I don't know which all of them are on the list of SSI saying, oh yes, you are disabled, okay? If they're not quite on that list, a lot of times an individual is going to have to show they had some kind of OOD work assessment or school work assessment showing that they're not ready for community employment. So they might get denied SSI at first if we don't have that information, because they don't know if the individual can be substantially gainfully employed or not. So you have somebody coming out of school. All right. Any work vocational assessments? They can do one, probably. That's okay. That's what they'll put in the assessment. But that's what they would put in the assessment. So sometimes when they're first coming out of school, Social Security wants to see a work assessment of some sort, whether it's through OOD or if the school does their own work assessments to determine, it should say, so-and-so is not ready for community employment. They have these skills to work on. Okay? Because Social Security, well, that with your disability, but if you don't have that, sometimes Social Security will be like, well, your disability is kind of mild. How do we know you can't be substantially gainfully employed? Well, the work assessment, you've done work assessments. Now the team wrote up the assessment. It states the person needs some, vocational, services before working. Yes. Right, and we determine what their needs, what his needs are, what's the capabilities, what assistance is needed, and they're going to type up a report. That goes along with that report. Yes. Yes, I'm sorry. I have not heard of any changes at this time, but you have, who knows at this time. So,
So almost daily on YouTube, it talks about like a subsidy coming for Social Security recipients at $5,000.
no, that's talking about everybody on Social Security. That some Elon Musk something. I don't know. I don't pay attention to this stuff. Did you guys get your 5,000 yet? I'm still waiting. That's something they're saying, something about they got all this money back and they're going to give it to everybody. That's for everybody. But yeah, it has not arrived. No, I wouldn't hold your breath. Right. So any questions? My information's, you guys don't have the PowerPoint's on your email. My information's is in there. Okay. If anybody wants to ask questions, email me. You ever want to sit down face to face, we'll go over your, everything face to face. We'll make an appointment. I'm happy to do so. Okay? You're very welcome. Thank you.